Hey.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome.
We're back. Not only we're back, we're very back. We're extra back.
You're extra back.
All right, guys. Welcome back to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. You guys didn't say it with me that time. That's okay.
I wasn't sure if I was supposed to or not.
My name... Sorry. We don't have any real traditions around here, but my name is Eric. I'm one of your hosts. This lady...
I'm Rachel.
And this dude...
I'm Peter. Welcome.
And together, with our powers combined...
We are not Captain Planet.
We are not Captain Planet, but we are people who are going to review episode 65, also known as season 4, episode 6, right?
Correct.
I got that right?
Good job.
Season 4 episode,
The Warhammer Titan. It's
Oh,
about to go off. But before we do, why don't we thank one of our sponsors?
What do you get when you want to get sponsored and you plant pod kernels?
I don't know.
Podcorn?
Today's episode of Beyond the Basement podcast is sponsored by podcorn.com.
You know, I could really go for some podcorn right now.
Friends, lend me your ears. Podcorn is an amazing sponsorship opportunity that connects podcasters with all sorts of spectacular sponsors. If you're like us and just started a podcast, you might be just as lost as we were, trying to figure out the best ways to find sponsors who want to sponsor new shows.
It can be awfully hard to do.
But once we discovered podcorn.com, it was all buttery smooth like buttery corn on the cob on the 4th of July. They make it so easy that even a couple of corny dad jokers like us can figure it out. Podcorn is really shucking the competition by eliminating the middleman and by doing all the hard work of bringing together up-and-coming podcasters with great sponsors. Once you sign up, you can scroll through a whole list of companies that want to get their product out to an audience like yours or ours. Find a sponsor you like and select from options like host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and ridiculous over-the-top pun-filled ads, and more. Then shoot your shot and begin to collaborate with the company on an ad that fits your style. Podcorn's mission is to give podcasters transparency, creative freedom, and full control of how and when to monetize. Now, I don't want to sound like a stalker here, but we will be following Podcorn very, very closely. True salute to Podcorn for sponsoring this episode and joining the squad. And you can explore sponsorship opportunities and start monetizing your podcast by signing up here at podcorn.com/podcasters.
That was got to be the most pun-filled ad, I think, probably ever.
Yeah, I let him know, listen, we're going to hit him with all the puns we possibly can jam-pack in any one ad.
I mean, they weren't opposed, and neither am I, so for the record. Okay, so let's recap this episode really quick. This, I was saying before we started the actual podcast here, was probably top 3, I think, of any episode so far, which gives me very high hopes for the rest of the season. We're
Okay,
6 episodes in.
So what's the one with Levi shredding the Beast Titan?
Hero.
Uh-huh. That one, definitely 1 or 2, respectively.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but the world the girl saw, so the Mikasa's backstory episode, I would put that one up there. I think it's one of my all-time faves. You know, honestly, the Eren fighting with what am I trying to say? I can't remember. It's season 2. Frick. When they're at the wall, they finally confess. They jump off the wall. They all get in a fight.
Yeah.
I don't remember what that one's called, and I don't even remember where it is. I think it's
season 2.
Eren,
pretty sure season 2.
We're the Titans who killed your family. Join us.
Bertolt Reiner confesses.
That's
so
the
when
worst speech of all time.
When Eren fights Reiner right there, that I would say that's up there as well, because when he's pulling the moves on him, you know, it just really says. Anyway, beside the point. Point is, we got to recap this episode really quick. Okay, so it starts off with the Tybur family, and we see Willy Tybur saying goodbye. It sounds like he knows he's going to die.
It's kind of teary-eyed a little bit.
Yeah, we get this long exchange between General Magath and Willy Tybur. General Magath, the invincible General Magath. Dude,
he's like a cat or a cockroach.
He's more invincible than the Warhammer Titan. Anyway.
Or Reiner.
So they have this long exchange between those two in like a stagecoach, like on their way to the event, where they basically are saying, we know we're probably going to be attacked here. It's a tactical risk, and the whole point is to draw out this attack and to use this attack to kind of conjure up the world's motivation to be against the Eldians. Then we finally get back to the action. Eren has burst through. Everybody freaks out. They're all running for their lives, and Eren goes, kills all the military dudes, and just pops off super hard. In the middle of popping off, we all knew this was going to happen. The Warhammer Titan appears, and we'll get to this, but Rachel freaking called it. Actually, Rachel and one of our people. Is Dan? Who's Danny? Who emailed us?
I'll find out.
We'll get to it. Thank you for that email. Somebody else pointed out that they thought it was her.
You called the maid out, even though it's technically his sister.
I'm the one. I said it. I thought it was his sister, not a maid.
In disguise.
She was in disguise. Yeah.
So we kind of catch up a little bit with in the chaos as people are fleeing. We catch up with Udo, who has taken a fatal injury. Zofia, who's taken a fatal injury. Basically, you've got Gabbi and Colt are now kind of running for their lives. We revisit with the Ja and Carter with Piek and Porco, and they're still stuck in the basement. Then we see what the Warhammer can really do, and we get this really intense fight between Eren and the Warhammer, where the Warhammer is just able to conjure like anything, like any weapon, like the hammer. Then they pull, it goes off. This is also where we see what am I trying to say? This is also where we see, so Eren basically starts to lose this fight thanks to anti-Titan weaponry, so on and so forth.
They start blowing holes in him.
We finally see Mikasa. She pops in with the Thunder Spears, goes off. That whole fight scene is incredible. Then we find out that, Marley has been broken, essentially. It really looks like this attack was like super effective. Mm-hmm. The chain of command has been broken. We got General Magath is sending out kind of like emergency SOS orders to order in a whole fleet of ships, to order in special troops that they've had up in the mountains, all that whole stuff. We catch up with Connie and Jean and Flock, of people we haven't seen this entire season so far.
It's been 4 years since we've laid eyes on some of these guys.
Yeah, we see a bunch of them showing back up, and of course what I call their Spec Ops Scout uniforms, and it's super freaking cool. We catch back up with Gabbi. We find out she's really angry and tries to get out, wants to go join the fight. When that happens, the two guards who are next to her are shot by a sharpshooter. None other than Sasha, one of the best, and so she sees them. It looks like she's taking a vow right there. I think she's doing the Eren thing at that point, almost positive.
She's gritting her teeth.
Anyway, so we end the episode with the Warhammer Titan getting into a fight with Mikasa, because Warhammer apparently, like I said, is nearly invincible. Goes to take out Mikasa with a sword, and in this whole process, Eren figures it out that the Warhammer Titan is not in the nape, but is actually beneath the stage in this little egg crystal thing. He goes to eat it. He rips the cord. Ja Titan shows up. Ja Titan gets taken care of by Levi.
My favorite.
So satisfying. And then right at the end, as Porco is on the ground, having been blown off a building again by Mikasa's Thunder Spear, he sees a bunch of scouts coming at him. He's like, "Wait, hey, you see I'm a Titan? They're just humans, but they're coming to kill me." He's like all freaked out.
These are the island devils of paradise.
Yeah, these are the devils of paradise. Which honestly, the Warhammer Titan's a great name for the episode to anticipate the episode, but the devils of paradise would have been a way better episode. Maybe in high school, maybe in Attack on Titans, Inside of Paradise is like inside the walls, and their high schools they need to like name their
sports
team.
Their
sports teams.
The Devils of Paradise.
And the Devils of Paradise score. It just fits too good. And then their mascot is the Attack Titan or something.
Okay. All right.
Anyway.
That's the recap. Yeah, Danny B, you called it. You nailed it. Great email. And speaking of which, if you guys have any questions, comments, or crazy theories, we actually read them, and we actually love that crap. This is why we started the podcast, is to get outside of the basement, to branch out, and to connect with other people around the world who love good art like Attack on Titan. So we do try to read those and respond when we can. So you can email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. And if you're incredibly thirsty after all that intensity, and you need some kind of device to be able to satiate your thirst,
you need a receptacle to hold your water.
You'll need a receptacle, and the only thing that could possibly quench your thirst
are these special mugs. These mugs that have finally come after all this time.
It's only been 9 months. We finally got some episodes. Merch. So
yeah, it's official.
Please check out our link. It's a Teespring link in our description. You can visit our YouTube page.
Now? Check out how dope these shirts are.
Our t-shirt.
I would have one, but
that's pretty sick.
I forgot mine at my house.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got Rachel one. You guys
Next
promised.
Next week, I will have it.
Anyway, no, seriously, the shirts do look really good. The mugs are freaking sweet. Just go check it out. Help support the show. We would appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we get in here. with the Tyburs. This whole scene got me really going. Actually, by the way, we did a reaction video, so you see that coming shortly. We finally did it. Everyone wanted it, so we did it.
See us all yelling and screaming like lunatics.
It did happen.
It was a very reactive episode. You were worried for nothing, by the way.
I was. But so we catch up here with the Tybur family, and it's like this episode starts off not with the action, which is where I was hoping it would. It starts off with literally like kids' toys in a room. I'm like, please don't be a flashback. Like I still like those episodes because they give you like the info you need. But I was like, come on, I gotta know.
Not a whole backstory episode. But here's the thing: if this episode goes as many of our commenters would tell us it goes, I was like, oh no. They're going to show us the human part of Willy Tybur. They're going to show us how much he cares. They're going to try to make you feel for him that he's backed into a corner. Mm-hmm. He has to kill, Eldian people in order to save the world,
because he's a really good guy.
He's a really good guy.
No, he's not. He's a freaking no.
He's a human trash can.
Hitler owned a dog too, okay? Just because you have a family.
Straight for Hitler. Huh?
I'm not saying Willy Tybur's Hitler.
Okay.
And I'm not saying he's the devil. All I'm saying is people will use comparisons all day long to compare one thing to the other. And just because this guy has a family, he must be a good guy.
Okay.
Just because you're capable of reproducing does not make you a good person. And I'm not making a judgmental accusation here yet. I'm just trying to follow the line of evidence here. They show us, Willy Tybur, he's got a family. He's got kids.
He's got a whole mess of kids.
Don't you love this guy?
Now, here's the thing is, I, even at this point, was like, I have my doubts. But anyway, okay, let's let the episode unfold. We'll get to this. We'll get to how right I was. Thank you.
Just you?
All of us.
Excuse me.
No, we all did, but I'm saying like I got some hit back on that. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
All right, so the Tybur family, and specifically we see you pointed out they look like they could be like triplets or quadruplets or something.
Yeah, there's like 3 kids that look all the same age, and then one that looks to be a little bit younger than those 3. And they're like, they all have dark hair and they look almost the same. And I was like, they have triplets? What the heck?
Yeah, and so it seems like they're his kids. It seems like they're
they were calling him Papa.
Yeah,
and they were like climbing up his legs and saying, "We want to come with you. It's not fair." And he was getting all emotional because
Yeah,
well, he seems to know.
Any dad for sure. Like when your kids all don't want you to leave, you're like, why do you guys got to do this? Like, I leave for you when I'm going to work or something like that. Your kids are like, don't go, Father. I'm like, I don't want to go. Just take a picture of that, send it to my boss, and be like, sorry, bro. You said no to those eyes?
You can still pay me, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay me to stay home and play with my children.
So he has to give this kind of tearful goodbye to them, and it's like, sorry, you guys can't come. And he says this really interesting line where he says, sorry, I'm not afraid this time. He's got some, he's kind of knows he's going on his mission. And he tells them, I have to go. And it looks like Tybur family's very like at least in this room, it's all like actual family. So it'd be like his kids. It looks like maybe his brothers and sisters potentially too. Grandma and grandpa's like actual like immediate blood relative family. He says, I've got to go. Who does he say make sure the kids get along to? He entrusts the kids.
I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be his wife. She calls him darling. She gets all teary.
He says first to a smaller blonde girl.
The blonde girl. I think she's like the nanny or maybe the governess or
something like that.
Or maybe his eldest daughter even, possibly.
Could be. It's very like Pride and Prejudice era style. Like large wealthy family. They've got caretakers and so on and lots of kids. So he says take care of the kids, make sure they all get along. Again, it sounds like he's giving a farewell. He knows he might be very well headed to his death. And then he turns to that lady. He says, darling, I'm sorry, please take care of the kids. Basically, he apologizes and he has to go.
And she starts crying, and
so she might know what's coming as well.
And then he leaves.
So so this sort of sets you up for maybe Willy is trying to do the right thing. And then he gets into a carriage with General Magath.
And here's the deal. You are who you are when you think no one's watching.
Yep.
You are who you are when nobody else is around. You are who you are when the spotlight isn't on you. And if you are somebody different on the stage than somebody in your personal life, that's not really who you are. That's just an act you put on. Mm-hmm. And many people make lots and lots of dollars putting on actors, right? But also politicians.
Yeah, I say there's a difference between an actor who's paid, and we know that it's like a
we paid him to lie to us.
Yeah,
versus
we sort of pay politicians to lie to us too if you pay taxes, but nonetheless, it's true. Like this is kind of how people are. My dad used to say this to me all the time. He's like, your character is what you're like when nobody's around, when nobody's looking. And I always thought I would be by myself and think of that and be like, That's who I really am. Okay, like I need to be circumspect, even when no one's around. I do need to like act righteously.
You want to become the type of person who doesn't have to constantly be thinking like, oh, is somebody watching what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Because you just want to be the type of person that inspires and helps and is good for others, period. So here we get a quiet sit down on a train car where no one else is around, right? The true thoughts, what's deep inside your heart can come out. And guess what comes out of Willy Tybur? Some freaking Satanistic propaganda about the devils, right? So here...
Well, it doesn't immediately start out. Well, the first thing that happens is it builds. So the first thing they talk about is the whole... he says, if I'm attacked, it will most likely be when I'm on stage. And he says, General Magath agrees, like that's the most likely time. This seems like the most likely place. All of the military brass will be gathered in one spot. And we start to see this whole thing unfold that they are anticipating this attack. Now, this makes a lot of sense. I don't know if we hit this much in the last episode. We are doing our podcast for all of season 4 immediately after watching these episodes for the first time. So I feel like my analysis isn't as like sharp as like the previous seasons.
Yeah,
so I feel like I missed stuff.
All we have is what we've just seen. We can't really get a great like retrospective looking back and piecing all the pieces together. So
yeah,
if we seem a little strong opinioned, it's because that's all we have to go off.
All the passion is there. So one of those details is you'll remember in episode 3, I think it was, when Magath and Willy Tybur are talking. They're at the construction of the stage in Liberio, and they're talking and they're saying in this very coded kind of language. They're saying, I fear that the house may be something wrong with the pillars or something like that. And then they say, I fear there may be many rats in the house. And so that was pretty cryptic, and I kind of wondered what the story. I honestly, looking back, we probably could have put that together. Like, oh, that means spies.
Yeah, they're basically talking like they need to rebuild some kind of a structure.
Yeah, and
they're talking about the government
of
their country,
Marley,
which we find out here.
General.
That is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to they're essentially trying to restructure. They're anticipating an attack, and they're going to use this attack as an opportunity to do 2 things. Number 1, they're going to use it to fully illustrate the fact that the paradise is an island of devils, that the world needs to go to war with paradise. And then number 2, I can't remember my point.
They're going to use it to restructure all of Marley.
We just said it.
Yeah.
I got you.
All right, so you're tracking with me. Okay.
So they say a couple of things. They say, there's probably going to be, that's the highest opportunity of an attack. So that's probably when it's going to happen if it does happen. There's plenty of rats. We think high chance it will happen. And what we'll do is we'll put all the VIP people, we'll put them in certain sections so they'll be very close to the exits, and so it's easier for them to escape at the very last moment, right?
Yeah, which we've already seen this. They did set that up.
We see all the military brass in one section. We see all of the warrior families in one section. So they're trying to separate the VIPs there. And he says, we haven't been playing around. We've been improving relations around the world, us Tyburs.
He says specifically that our Tyburs, the current Tybur generation, hasn't been playing around compared to previous Tyburs.
Yeah.
As if to say that the previous kind of like Tybur generations before him were kind of messing around, or sort of like they weren't taking what their leadership seriously, or there was. I think we're going to see more of that. That's why I bring that up. Yeah. I think we're going to learn a little bit more about the Tybur family history, kind of in the same way that like the Rice family inside the walls was sort of dormant in a way. They had like a shadow, like they're the shadow rulers inside the walls. And like in a way, they didn't take the threat from outside the walls seriously at all. They sort of just let it happen. And I almost feel like Willy Tybur is making a similar statement. Like before me, they kind of were like messing around. They weren't, but I'm taking this thing very seriously. I'm taking Paradise and the Founding Time all very seriously. And so we've been spying on them. What does he say?
We've been monitoring Paradise Island. We should have been watching our own backyard.
Yeah.
I think that they've crossed the sea and are at our necks. It's not that I'm afraid of. It's the conspirators they're working with I'm afraid of.
Yeah, we could be sliced at any moment.
This leads us to our next point, because we kind of thought that what if Eren and the crew back on Paradise Island hasn't just got those ships and transported just straight to Marley? What if they've been putting their feelers out there? What if they've been seeing if there's any Eldian friendly countries out there in the world? Granted, they'd experience a ton of racism and hatred like they had in the Mideast, but what if there's other countries that don't quite feel the same way about the Eldians as everybody? And it seems to us so far, we're just putting it out there, we don't know 100% for sure, that Madam Azumabito, Kiyomi, I think her name is.
Kiyomi, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Kiyomi, she's one of the Asians, or as they call them, Orientals in the show, and they seem to be a little more friendly to the Eldians. She stuck up for Udo during the meeting when he made a mistake.
Rip Udo. Everybody dies in this show, dude.
And nobody else would have done that. And so we're like, what if Eren has made contact and there's some conspirators? Maybe there's not just a force of Eldians infiltrating a country they know nothing about. Maybe it's a bunch of Eldians making contact, like Eric said during the live stream, making contact with maybe some wall restorationists.
Yeah, that's my going theory, is that the mention of the co-conspirators. He says, I'm trying to find his line here. The conspirators I fear the most, or the conspirators who work with those from Paradise are the ones I fear the most, meaning who he's concerned about isn't even necessarily people directly from Paradise, not necessarily an invading force, but it's people inside of their own country. And he even says there may be some of them in our own military, as if to say that, like, the people I'm afraid of the most are those who are in Marley, who have a sentiment to be wall restorationists, or to be, basically to conspire with those in Paradise. Now, it would be a heck of a twist considering what happens in the rest of this episode, but we've kind of had this sneaking suspicion. I personally have had a sneaking suspicion that General Magath may secretly be some kind of wall restorationist type.
Or at the very least, he might be a little less racist than everybody else.
Now, again, it's difficult. It's a really difficult case to prove because it goes both ways. What I'm saying is, because it's other points in this episode, we find, they say, listen, you sent in, it's in this conversation, right, where he says, well, you sent in. We'll get to it. Hang on, we'll get to it. I want to go kind of chronologically here. Okay. Let's see.
So there's conspirators hypothetically partnering with these Eldians who are infiltrating Marley.
Yeah, that's the theory. So that was to get back to my theory, Paradise sent people specifically to Marley because Eren had the Titan memories, that he knew there were these restorationist people, and he has a bunch of Titan memories, probably of specific places, maybe even specific names and people that his father knew. Maybe they're older now, and they can go straight in there, find those people, and conspire with them and say, hey, we're back on Paradise, we're on your side. And there you go. Now you have all the insiders you could possibly need, and there's probably more of them. Just because a handful of them got killed when Grisha got his Titan power and so on, doesn't mean that there wasn't still a bunch of them left over inside the walls. Sorry. So that's the theory.
So what if they partnered those wall restorationists inside the walls with the Eldians coming from Paradise Island outside the walls,
with other countries,
bunch of other countries who also don't like Marley? What could they do then?
Yeah, and for other reasons, again, as this episode goes on, it makes it seem clear to me that this is going where I thought it was going, which is a world war. It's going to be a multi-sided world war is actually where the show ends up going, and that half the world believes they have to kill Eren, and the other world, I'm not sure yet. But
so they say Marley has enemies all over, but we will use the fire under the stage, right? And then Magath says, our own military. Yeah, he says, yes, we'll use their attack to our own advantage. And then Magath says, yeah, but even if they take the bait, which is Willy Tybur, we'll lose way too much. And Willy says, most of them will be incompetent officers. If the enemy's goal is to damage Marley's military, it'll work out perfectly. We will rebuild the military, and the party, he says, the party will approve whoever you want to be their replacements.
Yeah. So here we see now the devil of both of these guys starts to come out, specifically Tybur. He's saying, they're disposable, our military brass. There's certain ones that you don't like, that I don't like. Let them go. Now, we see later on the General Calvi, who I appreciate General Calvi. It's one of the guys who we've actually seen him before. We saw him in the second episode when the military brass are meeting in Fort Slava that's all destroyed. They're meeting there. We see this General Calvi guy. He's actually the one who kind of lets Zeke speak and everything. Anyway, we see him later on, and we realize that he does go down. But they speak of him like, "Oh wow, General, he's a big deal." Well, if General Magath has any beef with the guy, or if he doesn't trust him, or if he's not on his side in some way, put him in the stands. He's quote a military person you can sacrifice.
Yep. And
the whole point here is, we're pretty sure we're going to be attacked. We're pretty sure if it's going to happen on stage, which puts Tybur at risk. But he's willing to take that risk. He's like, no, I think it's probably going to happen, and that's okay. I'm going to die for the cause. General Magath is like, yeah, we can't really protect you if that's the case. And he's like, no, go through with it. This is what has to be done. And we find out this whole thing is about not just baiting out an attack, but it's about smoking out any co-conspirators in their own midst, in their own military, and it's about using this attack. So again, 2 points here: using this attack to restructure their own country, or to restructure Marley so that the power is now folded under Magath, and I assume maybe now the Tybur family, since Tybur himself is going to go down, he thinks. But it's also about stirring up the sentiment of the rest of the world against Paradise, because look at I told you they were devils. See, like we won. If you remember Willy Tybur's speech, he gives this really emotional speech. He's trying to win the world over to his cause, and then here they come. They pop up and they kill a bunch of people. And so we'll get to this. He's about to say his line where he confirms all this.
Yeah, and with that, it kind of makes sense. Like, think about World War II, right? England and France, Germany, all these places, Japan, they're all at war, and all these things are happening, and a bunch of people are like, hey, United States, you guys need to get involved in this war. Mm-hmm. And our people were like, nope, we don't want to be involved in another giant war. We don't want to be involved in a giant war. And we're like, we know we need to get involved in this war, but our people don't want to do it. How can we get involved in this war? Well, a little thing called Pearl Harbor happens, and it's the perfect excuse and retribution to get into the war. And so many people say, oh, the U.S. knew it was coming, and they allowed it to happen. They sacrificed their own people just so they could get involved in the war.
3,400 people, really?
There's a lot of people that refute that and say, no, there's no way they could have known, and there's suspicions. But regardless of the fact, the attack happens, and all of the United States people are saying, no, we have to get involved in this war now. It completely changes the whole country. So it's the same type of thing. They're trying to use this opportunity to be able to change the whole world, to universally hate the Eldians on Paradise Island and to join with them, the reporters and everything. So he says, even if they take the bait, there's way too much we'll lose, and we'll rebuild the military, and the party will approve whoever you want. And Magath says, but so many will die. And Willy Tybur stands up, looks him dead in the eye, and says, angry. Most of them will be Eldians. They're the spawn of the devil.
And General Magath goes quiet. He actually kind of is like silent in his response there. And I don't want to toot my horn or our horns like too hard, but we freaking nailed it, okay? I'm just going to put this out there. Willy Tybur is a bad guy, okay? No, you don't say this guy. Like, this whole conversation doesn't show us a sensitive guy who's pushed into a corner, who's just trying to do the right thing, and he's just being a martyr for a cause. This shows us a guy who's a master manipulator, a shadow ruler, and somebody who hates the Eldians, who... I don't even know if he's Eldian. Well, if it's that lady's his sister.
He says he is. Yeah, he's Eldian, and he hates his own people.
But this is a hateful, manipulative mastermind. This is not somebody to empathize with. This is somebody who's like, this is somebody who's willing to be a martyr. Okay, well, let me just say it this way. If you're willing to be a martyr for the right cause, like, good for you, essentially, right? We can all look back at history and look at people that kind of went down as martyrs and think, okay, well, they died for the right reasons. They died in the name of freedom or in
liberty
defense of
justice,
defense of their own family or something like that. There's plenty of good reasons. However, it's also true you can be a martyr for all the wrong reasons, okay? We don't look back
at every kamikaze.
Yes, we don't look back at the Japanese kamikazes and think, okay, well, they really died. They were heroes for their nation. They really died for the right reasons. Like, no, they absolutely did not. And the people who sent them to their own deaths were just as bad. It's not a good way to go out. So Willy Tybur, just because he's willing to lay down his life, doesn't mean that in and of itself does not make him like good or righteous for doing this. And so our argument in the last episode, the reason we're bringing this up is we got a lot of hit back in the YouTube comments. There's plenty of people who came to Willy's defense. Now, I'm going to say this. If you're in the manga and you are like ahead and so you actually know what's going to happen and you're coming to Willy's defense, like, that means you know something I don't know, which is why I was willing to hear the argument. I'm like, okay, I may not know all the stuff because it happened with Ymir, it's happened with Reiner.
I was going to say, this is not like Ymir.
Yeah,
this is different.
So here's the deal. We don't know all of Willy Tybur's motivations behind why he does the things of his character. All we know is his actions. Now, for the most part, we don't judge somebody on just their motivations. Mm-hmm. We judge them on their actions.
Yeah, actions speak louder than words.
There are some things that appear to be terrible, but if they're looked at from a correct perspective, for instance, I killed somebody. You killed somebody. Oh, but it was self-defense, right? I was defending myself.
Changes things.
Okay, that changes things. But committing genocide on innocent people for power, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Unless there's literally no other option, that's a terrible thing to say, right?
Yeah.
And then he's calling a whole race of people the devil just because of their race, just because of their DNA.
He has
that's also very wicked.
He's kind of like, I know this is muddy water speaking into, but in World War II, since there's just so many parallels between World War II and the shows right now. One of them is in World War II, you had a certain group of Jews who worked as
Gestapo.
Gestapo. They literally worked for the SS. They literally worked for the German military, helping to like hand over their neighbors and friends and other Jewish people, which seems really weird.
To further their own position.
Yeah, to further their own position, but it's such an odd betrayal. Now I hate to yeah. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Is the fact that there could be such a thing as somebody who has a form of racism against people of their own race. I mean, it's certainly been done before. It certainly happened before.
It's just strange.
And it's self-interested is what it is. It's weird, but again, it's the human heart is exceedingly wicked. People do stuff like that. So I essentially think like that's what we're looking at. If Willy Tybur's Eldian, which I assume he is, then that's what's going on here. And he has the same kind of bigoted, like hateful, like attitude as everybody else and Marley, who carries on with like the propaganda.
Yeah.
But he believes it.
Yeah.
He should know better, but he probably does, but he believes it.
He doesn't take this moment to say, listen, I'm in command now. We control Marley. Marley's been a war machine. Terrible things are happening. We need to find a way to bring peace. We need to find a way to end the war without killing a bunch of more innocent people. He's like, look, we're going to bring peace after I get more power. And I just think it's terrible, right?
Consolidating power, the racist remarks, the manipulating the rest of the world.
He better have some great motivation, but even so, I don't think.
What kind of motivation would make you?
I don't think any.
Oppress your own people and like.
Yeah, none.
I think especially the biggest strike against Willy Tybur is the fact that their family has lived in luxury while their brothers and sisters have been in slavery. They sold them out, and they've done nothing about it so far.
Confines.
And even if they're about to do something about it now, it's like, bro, where were you 100 years ago?
Where were you 20 years ago when you know
if you had
Krishna's sister was being eaten by dogs?
Yeah.
Yes. No, seriously. Yeah. I very much agree with that. And so in the last episode, because people were giving us a lot of flack for it, I think that's the part we were like hitting on the most is this idea that like, okay, well, if you really were so concerned with like saving the Eldians and all this stuff, you wouldn't be like, all right, now we're going to war with Paradise, and B, like you're saying, like you would give something up. You would make some kind of sacrifice, but you haven't. Not because Willy Tybur, we know, has been in the lap of luxury. He's friends with all these world rulers. He's been friends with them since he was a kid. He's lived this luxurious, like rich. They live in mansions. The Tyburs do. He's lived this rich life for so long, and is willing to give up basically nothing, for the sake of his people. And this whole like, oh, I had this secret information from the memories of the Warhammer Titan and so on. Maybe you did. But it was all a lie. Like, you based everything on a lie. Like, the guy he's double-mouthed. He's two-faced and double-mouthed. He says one thing, does another behind scenes. Like, this is not somebody who's good. This is not somebody who has, like, good motivations. And the main reason that we were all suspect, this is very cynical, but it's true, we were all suspect of him is because he's playing the perfect role of a politician. And just a little jaded, I understand that, but in real life, anybody who gets on stage and so gives you this emotional speech,
tells you they can solve all your problems.
Yeah, I can solve all your problems is probably manipulating you. They're almost always lying when power is on the line, political power is on the line.
How many politicians have gotten up there and said, I want to reduce my own power, my own wealth, and my own wages. I want to bring that down and take away my power and give it to somebody else. Very, very few, right? So this comes out in Willy's speech. He looks at Magath and he's like, "Oh, don't change on me now, General."
Yeah. Magath hesitates hard.
Well, he's saying there's women and children and innocent people,
and he says,
and then that's when he's like, "But they're all Eldians. Who cares?"
Yeah, he says you're just as bad. You sent Eldians to their deaths. You sent them to death into machine guns, into mines. You think it's different because they're wearing a uniform?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big difference, buddy. Innocent women and children versus people who are, I mean, I guess if you force somebody to be in the military, it's a little less different, but still,
a soldier and a civilian are very different things.
Right.
Yes.
Someone who's trained to fight, and especially like a man versus women and children.
Yeah. Now, this little hesitation here and this whole thing, and the fact that Willy Tybur says, the ones I fear the most are those who are co-conspirators with the island of Paradise. I can't shake the feeling that Magath there's some connection. The fact that he hesitates so much here, and the fact that it would be very ironic for Willy Tybur to say that line to somebody not knowing that he was himself, the guy he's talking to and he's entrusting himself to is a conspirator.
Trevin says,
I don't know.
Trevin says, Willy, some of you may die. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that from again? I forget. Shrek.
Shrek.
Yeah. That's right. But that's the perfect line. All right, don't change on me now. What does it matter if they're in uniform, so on and so forth? And this is where General Magath gives a really interesting line. He says, "This isn't war. We don't know who the enemy is. We don't know what their goal is or how they will attack." I personally think what he's trying to say is this isn't war yet because there's been, like, you may be declaring war on another nation, but we haven't been formally attacked. Meaning, in the show and in real life, most wars, up until a certain point, were fought on very formal terms. Right. It was like, you make a declaration, you're in a country over here, we're in a country over here, we show up in lines and shoot at each other and see who can win, right? There's this very, like, clear cut, World War II is a film everyone loves to make, a story everyone loves to tell because it's had these very clear, like, two sides. Well, you fast forward to things like Vietnam, and then fast forward again to kind of all the various conflicts around the world that involve guerrilla warfare and these odd tactics, and, like, suddenly what's war and what's a conflict, and it gets very gray. Right. And what he's saying right here is that they're kind of in that gray moment. They're saying, like, well, we haven't even been attacked formally, and we don't have 2 lines of soldiers. Like, this isn't traditional war. We don't even know what they want. You know what I mean? Like, again, just to go back to, like, previous wars, like Fort Slava wanted to take, the Mideast Empire wanted to take part of Marley's, like, land or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they had to fight back. So you know what that war is about. You at least know what your enemy wants. And this one, he's like, we barely know who they are. We don't even know if they will attack.
But you know them enough to call them devils and cascade them all as Satan. So, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, okay.
So he says, the venue will be packed. I doubt I'll be able to protect you. And Willy looks kind of shook here. He's got some tears in his eyes, and he says, I'm prepared for that. Unless I stand on the stage, the ambassadors and the news, they won't gather together. We must be made into tragic victims.
That's the line.
Victims of an unforeseen tragedy, right?
Unforeseen attack, yeah.
Yeah. And so basically he says, this is all an op. This is all just manipulation. This is all just politics. It's all about the narrative. It's all about what's not actually happening, but what we want you to see is happening.
We don't care whether or not it's true that we are, quote, tragic victims. We just want everybody to think. We want the world to see this as, oh, they all died as tragic victims. We must join their cause.
Look at this terrible attack the Eldians did on these poor Marleyans who have never done anything.
That is how you know Willy Tybur is badly motivated. He's willing to die for it.
Well, and then also they can spin the story even further and say they even killed their own people in order to attack
these
Marley.
savages. Yeah.
They really are devils, see, and he knows that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he's willing to die to do it, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, he's the opposite of a martyr. He's like a terrible martyr, a martyr that's going to help.
He's basically, committing suicide by Titan.
He's going to help perpetuate a further war and genocide, right? And Magath is like...
And he's saying that's his atonement.
Yeah. And Magath looks at him and he's like, it's true. The Eldians are devils, but so are we. And he shakes Tybur's hand on the deal. Like, Magath knows he's getting into some, like, deep stuff. And this kind of made us question. We're like, okay, Magath, do you actually care about human life? Because he's the one who said, I think we need to have Marleyan be part of the military so they know what it's like to bleed so they won't be so war hungry. Mm-hmm. He's the one who said so many people will die. People, not just devils. People, meaning Eldians.
Yeah.
Is there something more to Magath here than just a wicked Marleyan?
They're keeping it real close to the chest. It's hard to say right now. It could go either way.
Even if it's not as straightforward, he's like a secret wall restorationist. Okay, let me put this out there. Here's one last reason why I think it's possible. Do you remember the owl?
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about him a lot.
He killed
in the military too.
He's in the military. He was in the military. He served in the military. And in order to, he didn't have the armband. And in order to prove his loyalty to the military, he went so far. And he tells Grisha this. He's like, I've sent a lot of my fellow patriots over this wall.
Just to keep your cover.
He's so deep in his cover that he's willing to kill that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
He's killing his own people.
And
turning them into pure Titans too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's doing some really horrible stuff. I could see that kind of weird conflict and stuff happening in Magath.
Same. Wouldn't it be crazy if Magath's actually an Eldian?
It would be nuts. Now,
or half Eldian or something.
I'm not saying that has to be the case. That's not my formal prediction, though I do think that's the most likely. What I am saying is there's more to General Magath than what meets the eye.
Paris says a dark Irwin.
A dark Erwin, yeah.
Erwin.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You said that
I
about
said
Tybur.
that about Tybur, that he was like Erwin, but
Black soul.
had a black soul.
Yeah.
Fairly accurate. So, yeah, we'll do it in a couple minutes here.
All right. So we flash back to the scene of
Eren's busting out of the stage, and he eats him.
And he dead.
In front
He
of
just
everybody.
pops him like some popcorn.
Willy Tybur, who wanted...
Some Willy corn.
God. Oh, man.
He wanted war. He wanted the optic. He wanted to use this opportunity. Well, you got what you wanted, buddy. You're dead. And guess what? Eren goes and he looks, he turns, and you see him look at all of the Marleyan military generals, all the people who have basically hated, been racist to his people, who have sent countless Eldians over and over and over again to oppress his people. He looks at them and he just starts sprinting at them.
Did the belly flop.
He belly flops straight into them and then rolls on them like a child down a hill.
I hate to not take this like seriously, but you gotta admit, like, this is like something out of a video game.
Yeah.
Like,
He's just like, and then the death roll.
I've not played any of the Attack on Titan
He's
games.
like an alligator. Like
yes. I've not played any Attack on Titan games, but I imagine if there is, like, if they make another one, you need to be able to play as the Attack Titan and do this exact move.
And just
like,
flail yourself on the Marleyans.
A lot of people. Now, in the oops, I keep going on my notes. So in that attack, when he goes to hit them, it zooms in on Calvi, right?
Yeah.
And all the other military guys are running for their lives, and he doesn't move an inch. I'm pretty sure he just knows. He's like, well,
he's like, this is my atonement.
Yeah, this is what I wanted.
I'm going to let him turn me into a martyr too.
Yeah, so he gets belly flopped on. I just think it's super interesting. Again, I think he's one of because I'll say this, because they said so specifically that we're willing to sacrifice some people from the military, that they literally had a plan to bunch them all together and put them in one place. I have to imagine General Calvi was some kind of enemy. Again, going back to the Magath thing, if Magath is, again, let's say he's a co-conspirator with Paradise, let's say he's an Eldian, he's like the owl. If that's the case, and General Calvi's not, General Calvi's like a full Marleyan believer, you might want him out.
Yeah, so actually it's interesting. Manita Prowl said, remember when Reiner was explaining some of the military stuff and those Marleyan generals, officers, they wouldn't listen to him, like, oh, you idiot.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks that maybe they're going to take this opportunity to kind of remove those old stuck in the mud Marleyans who couldn't adapt to kind of the new way things are going to be.
Yeah, no, almost
That's what
for
they
sure.
were talking about in the carriage. They're like, yeah, let them all die so we can rebuild everything.
Right. So it's interesting point there.
With people that Magath handpicks.
Yeah.
Who will be a little more flexible, who maybe will care about life. I don't know. We'll see.
He's Magath is turning out to be the most interesting character so far.
I told you, I think he's the actual boss. I think he's the actual end boss that's like going to be super hard to kill and drive everybody crazy.
I'm hoping he's good.
He's a spy.
I'm hoping he's turning into
one or
something
the
good.
other.
He's a walrus. Anyway, so Eren is in full attack mode, right? And he sees all the people who've oppressed his people, and he's like, guess what, buddy? I got 100 years of pent-up rage right here. And he just starts grounding, pounding. He's wailing on everybody.
It's called Retribution.
Rockin' Sockin' Robots, Pop the Weasel. I don't know, whatever. What's that game with
Hungry Hippos?
The game that they come out of the ground, you got to hit them. Whack-a-mole. Whack-a-mole. And we look over, we see the carnage.
Sorry.
We see the carnage, and we see...
This next part's hard to watch, actually. It was tough. This is good.
A lot of the people who were sitting in the stands got hit by some rubble. And Zofia got crushed by a rock.
Yeah.
Gabbi and Udo and Colt, they're messed up right now, but Zofia is crushed. And Udo looks at her and he says, Zofia, no. And he goes to run over. Gabbi kind of recognizes, and Colt tells her to stop, but he runs headlong to go after Zofia, which is like, man, what a boss Udo was.
Yeah, he really was. I actually was kind of hoping for his character to go somewhere because yeah, I don't know. I just liked
he was a little bit likable.
Mm-hmm. And I liked
so
having
was Zofia too, actually.
Yeah.
I liked having our kind of like second generation of like, you know, like
little
young warriors.
And I think those two kind of had a little bit of a thing for each other, and it was kind of cute.
Now, granted, they're brainwashed, but I was hoping that these ones would get unbrainwashed.
Yeah.
And they would come around, you know what I mean? That's what I was hoping for. So Zofia's out, Udo on the way. Everybody's running though, everybody's fleeing, and he gets caught up in the stampede and gets killed by accident, I'm assuming, by all these fleeing people.
Yeah. Colt pulls Gabbi up against the stone that's crushing Zofia, and they use it to shelter themselves from the stampede of panicking people.
Right.
And that's when Gabbi just screams. the whole time.
It's a horrifying little.
It's really emotional, actually.
Manindra says that Gabbi finally saw his flying titan.
Yeah.
There it was, buddy.
Got his wish.
Can we make titans that fly? Oh, yeah, actually.
You got one, buddy.
Yeah, you got it.
That's right.
All right, so this is where we get to. This is where it gets good. So Eren's busy punching all these generals down. We see him literally like punching the ground basically, and we see this woman dressed in the maid outfit. And I gotta give credit where credit's due. Rachel pretty much dialed it right away. Danny as well, our one of the people who emailed us. He took some screenshots even and sent them to us, and we all kind of were like, "Oh, there's got to be something here."
And he's an anime only too.
Yes.
So he's just taking a shot. Nailed it, buddy.
Yes. Thank you for that. So it turns out this lady was dressed up as a maid. Because remember, Willy was like, "Oh, it's here. We don't, it's all cryptic. Like, who has the Warhammer Titan?" Well, it turns out it was her. And then she says, "My brother, you faithfully fulfilled your duties. Now it's time to do mine," or whatever. So she transforms into the Warhammer, and we all notice this. She transforms in a really weird way. She kind of like conjures like magically
from her
out of the
feet
ground.
up. It's like
daisies.
she grows like a flower, and it's all very like elegant.
Yeah, you're like, of course a girl would do that. It's like, I am here.
And then in a
true.
fit of just perfect justice, though, like I love. Okay, it's like when you watch a horror movie, you're always mad the characters don't do the smart thing.
Yeah.
And when that once in a blue moon they actually turn and do the thing, like. Okay, actually, here's a great one. Remember in Avengers when Loki gets thrown up to the top? I think it's the first Avengers one. He gets thrown up to the top of the building, and Hulk jumps up there after him, and Loki goes, "Stop!" And Loki starts to give like another
I am
speech.
a god.
I am a god. And
How dare you stand up to me?
Yeah, and the Hulk, like, what you're anticipating is that he's going to give this long drawn out speech, and something else is going to happen. It's like, is this going to be a continuation of what's happened? And Hulk doesn't let him finish. He just grabs him and just
he just like starts smacking him around like a dish rack.
And it's everything you wanted in that moment.
Yes,
beating him into the ground, and then he lays there and he's like,
yeah, same puny god is what he says after what Hulk
yeah.
says. It's so satisfying because you're like, oh, that's what you always want the people in the movies to do, is to like not hesitate, but to just get in there and do the right thing like right away. And then this moment is that exact same thing. Like, instead of letting him transform and then square up and then fight, Eren's like, I'm not going to let you get that far. He just goes in for the haymaker like before the transformation's even done.
Armor's not even up.
yeah, all the facial muscles are still forming. The eyeballs don't have sockets, and he's just like destroying
Damn. So
the
good.
Warhammer's face.
It's the same thing for me in 300 when that guy's like, you better give tribute, right? And he's like,
Oh,
you wanna give tribute? He's like, no, you can't kill us, God. This is madness. And he just kicks him right in the chest in the well. And he's like, this is Sparta. Like, everything in me is like, nah, I'll just kick this guy right here. If this was me right now, I'll just kick him in the chest. And he does it. I'm like, I am in.
yeah, you rarely get to be like, that's what I would do. You're always like, I would have done something different. But in this case, Eren did exactly what I would have done. Yeah, so the Warhammer's getting the ground and pound, and Eren does the hardened fist thing, and it's just so satisfying to see him like so horrifyingly like good at being the Attack Titan now. Quick note, we missed this part, but there was that towards the beginning when you first see Eren's like face. I think it's after he's either killed the military or it's like right at the beginning of the sequence, but they show like a close up of Eren's face, and it's right after the carriage conversation between Magath and Tybur. They cut over to Eren having just eaten Tybur, and he looks at everybody, and he's got like one crazy eye, and like he just looks horrifying.
Terrifying. Yeah.
He's got blood coming out of one side of his mouth.
Yeah. So it looks like his fight is over. It looks like Eren is just like, nope, I am Eren, and nothing can stand up to me. He starts to whack this Warhammer Titan with like the hardened fists, and like, okay, these are the things that brought down the armor Titan. These are the things that brought down Annie. These are the things that brought down the female Titan.
And
like,
these fists have 4 more years of training on them now.
yeah, and so he just starts to wail on the Warhammer, and I was like, oh, that fight's over. Like, he's just wailing on the nape right now super hard. This is crazy.
Is this when Magath shoots? Mm-hmm.
And it zooms back to all the people who are around, all the Marleyan soldiers that are around Magath. And Magath standing there, and they were like, General, the Warhammer Titan's getting wrecked. General, we
He's
can't find the
destroyed
warriors.
all of our military leaders. We don't know where the warriors are. Everything's on fire.
And Magath just
He's just chill.
just cocks, just puts one in the chamber, just bolt action, just looks up, bink, and just shoots off one
And they're
shot.
like, he's lost it. We're all doomed.
Yeah, and they're like, what the heck? And he's like, listen, I know it seemed like merely a plink, but this will signal the counterattack from Marley. To think they would make such a grand entrance. This, the usurper of the founding Titan, the Attack Titan, Eren Yeager has come in person. That saves us a trip for the islands. And then he's like, well, let's go. And they kind of signals all of his guys to rally and begin to get to their positions.
Well, he says Eren showed up in person. He says, now prepare for battle. It's time to actually go into battle. I want to put this out super quick. I'm not sure if this is anything, but the way that Magath phrases this, he says, the usurper of the founding titan, the attack titan. He doesn't say Eren right there. He says it was the attack titan.
Yeah.
And we do know that the titan you possess not only has memories, not only do you gain some of those memories, but it seems as though that power that's inside of you is kind of controls you a little bit too. It sort of makes you do things. You have the power of the titan, but the power of the titan kind of also has you. Now, the strongest example would be the founding titan, as it was passed down to Frida, and as it was passed through
the whole Rice family, really.
What's his name?
Grisha.
Yuri, Rod Rice's brother. As they each gain that power, remember, they all come to the same conclusions. They all get the Titan memories.
Yeah,
and
it seems like they all want to do the opposite of what they end up doing once they become the Titan. His will overpowers them. It's like they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's something to that. So like I said, that's the strongest example. But the owl also tells us, he tells Grisha that wherever the attack Titan goes, it fights for freedom. And
Eren even, remember, he tells Armin, he says, when they're walking to Shiganshina, he says, the thing that always gives me my strength is when I remember I'm fighting for others. I seem like I'm at my strongest when I'm fighting for others.
I'm my strongest when, fighting for other people, fighting for freedom. So I kind of have to wonder if General Magath kind of recognizes that, and if this is a little hint at the fact that he recognizes it either uniquely, like other people don't see that, or that is the general sentiment about the Titans, is that when you inherit one of those powers, it starts to have an influence on you. Now, this might even make sense if it makes a physical manifestation. Let's say Bertolt wasn't naturally taller than everybody. Maybe right? Because we saw what we thought was Armin. He looked very tall as well.
Connie also got taller too, though. So
that's true. Everybody grew a little bit.
They grew. They're men. They grew.
Yeah.
So they're rushing off. We kind of see these people running, and we see Magath scrambling, and he says, "Remember, I'm the one who took the first shot." And we thought maybe this might be Magath's attempt to try to reform a new Hellos, a new hero who stood up against the Titans.
Yeah,
Magath,
he just did a symbolic action, taking the first shot, commanding everybody to go to battle, and then he says he wants let it be known I was the one who took the first shot in the counter.
Yeah. So Eren is raining down blows on everybody else on this Warhammer Titan, and we're like, oh, this is over, and the Warhammer Titan moves a little bit, and all of a sudden
you see the sparkle in the eye.
Yeah, this giant pillar comes and impales Eren right through the midsection.
Mm-hmm.
And then the drunk guy dies.
The running drunk guy.
It's a random cut, but it switches over to the drunk guy's what's all this ruckus about? And a rock just comes and eliminates him.
And then the nice lady's like, come on, you idiot, we're all gonna, and then they get crushed.
Yeah.
It's sad, but again, there's a weird sense of dark comedy in that moment. So anyway,
we see Peck and Porco, which sounds like
still
a cop show.
That's true.
Peck and
they're
Porco.
Still in their hole.
They're stuck in their hole, and all they can do is listen.
The ground is shaking, and is it Porco is like, what's going on? And Peck says, well, based on the rumblings, there's Titans fighting. And he's like, what?
Yeah, and she says, yeah, we're trapped. We got to find a way to get out of this. And she says, based on the fact that we're trapped in here, it's pretty clear there's a Titan attack going on. She's kind of put two and two together.
She's already pieced together.
She's clearly very clever.
And more than that,
Yes.
she says, just wait a few minutes. And the Panzer unit shows up.
Yep.
She says, took you guys long enough. And they're like, sorry, here we are. And
throw us a rope.
She says, yeah, when I was being tailed by that soldier, I thought he might seem a little bit odd. So I went and I spoke, and it gives us a flashback. She tells the Panzer unit, follow me. That guy seems a little bit shady.
When she runs over to hug the guy, and she seems like she's, oh, hi, old friend. She whispers in his ear, this guy seems shady. Follow us and make sure he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, dang. She's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, I gotta give her credit.
For somebody who looks stoned 99% of the time, she's sharp as a tack.
Yep.
And right as they're about to go, Jaw says, look, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to go, save the Warhammer. I'm going to go help Eren because he loves to rush in there. PX is like, well, how long till I can get my equipment? They're like, we'll get it in 15. She says, make it 10.
And they're like, yes, sir, or Roger that, or whatever.
And she turns to Jaw and says, listen, before you go in, there's one thing I want you to remember.
And overhead, you hear the familiar sound.
She goes, it can't be.
Oh, it can be. It's the Scouts, baby.
Let me tell you something.
The Scouts. Oh, when the Scouts. Oh, when the Scouts come
flying in. They have their swords and thunder spears. We can keep
and
going.
You don't
want
want to be a Marleyan.
There you go.
So here come the Scouts, baby.
Oh.
And they're zipping around in their spec op, black op unit armor, and they're flipping around, and she is terrified because she's seen what Scouts can do. She knows.
She knows.
There may be some Ackermans in them bunch.
Yeah, I was to say, she witnessed Levi. So she witnessed
And
the
Mikasa.
finest. And Mikasa. She witnessed the finest of them all.
Yeah. So we go back to the Warhammer, and we see the Warhammer impales Eren, stands up, begins to heal, and then immediately conjures up
a hammer.
A giant hammer.
It's actually
the hammer.
Specifically
it looks like
a meat tenderizer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
She's about to tenderize her some meat. And she's a Bamf Titan, let me tell you. She makes spikes come out from the ground, stabs Eren through the feet, so he's trapped. And that actually works in conjunction with the Marleyan anti-Titan artillery, which I'm sure they've adopted from other nations because they suck at invention.
What is it? The Middle Eastern Coalition.
Yeah, because they're friends now. Remember, they actually made a treaty agreement. So
they begin to shoot Eren, and Eren starts getting jacked up. He's already got the giant impaled hole in the middle of him. His feet are messed up. He can't move very well, and he starts getting rained down upon. He throws his hands up to cover his nape, and it is not looking so hot. And one of the guys says, "Magath, these anti-Titan, weapons, they're really working well. Should we finish Eren Yeager off?" And he says, "No, we don't want to finish him off. We want the Warhammer to eat it." And they're like, "Yeah, she's awesome, but she's not trying to eat him."
Doesn't look like she's trying to eat him. Yeah, something weird is going on there. And they actually, that same soldier mentions without the founding Titan, they're doomed. These people have a very, maybe even overly high opinion of the founding Titan thus far. Because yes, Eren has the power. He has his coordinate power, his founding Titan power, which we have not seen in action yet. But to be more specific, they have it in their minds that the founding Titan is the end-all be-all. And it may be, but so long as it's in Eren's possession, the full power of the founding Titan is definitely not in full swing yet.
As far as we know.
Yeah, as far as we know. Now, here's the thing is, Eren has not had a chance so far in this season to use the coordinate power. I'm just going to make a prediction right now. I really do think that the Beast Titan is going to conjure up. He's going to form a bunch of pure Titans in this next episode, in the next fight. He'll conjure a bunch of pure Titans, and then Eren will be like, "Thank you," and just, I don't know if Historia's around, if that's what he needs, but
or does he need to grab the Beast Titan?
Or he touches the Beast Titan. I just think we're gonna see it, man. For sure, we're gonna see Eren use the coordinate power again. It's only been once, but I just have a hunch it will be in conjunction with the Beast Titan.
So we see Eren, and he's pretty jacked up, and all the guys are like, "Yeah, Warhammer wins," and the nape opens up, and Eren Yeager comes out, and this is some advanced Titan ability because in the past
he wasn't able to do that.
He's starting to look and act a lot like Zeke, which kind of freaks me out a tiny bit. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, Eren's
got
personality.
that same calm, cool thing that Zeke has, and he's just doing stuff. And the Warhammer just knocked off both of his arms, and then he just blooms out of his nape like, "What's up?"
And in the past, this would mean you lost. Fight's over. You suck. But Eren obviously is not afraid. He comes out completely calm. And they all say, "Oh, that must be Eren Yeager." And the Warhammer Titan says, "Eren Yeager, usurper, do you have any last words?"
Long pause.
Got some good last words.
Dramatic pause.
His last words are, "Mikasa, it's now or never." Come on, Mikasa, come save my bacon, baby.
The Bamf, the one and only, the world's finest Mikasa runs out with 8 thunder spears, throws them straight into the nape of the neck, and pulls the ripcord and freaking blows all of them. These are improved. These are improved thunder spears, by the way.
8 thunder spears.
This is getting They've definitely made some enhancements, obviously, to the ODM gear, and so we see a bunch of that in this episode. But this right here, because we haven't seen him, right? We're 6 episodes deep. This is the first Scout anything that we've seen, and it just feels right. The sound effects and to see them all hopped up, it's as satisfying as I hoped it would be. Because we saw them in the trailer, we saw them in some of the the posters and so on. We finally get to see the Scouts in person, and it feels really good.
Eren says, "You actually came to Mikasa." And Mikasa has some interesting words. She says, "Eren, please come home." And we flash to the informational bracket, and it says, "The Tyburs, the Warhammer Titan, his body is encased by a white shell. Using their incredible hardening ability, they can make any kind of weapons, or they can conjure any kind of weapons they could think of. Warhammer makes sense. Crossbow and whip.
Okay, he's got a problem with this. Yeah, I'm still in. I understand this is fiction.
Just follow me for a second. They're going to use their hardening ability to make a crossbow and a whip. What's the problem with a crossbow and a whip?
They're not hard.
They're not hard.
They're flexible.
In fact, that is the opposite of what you want a whip to be. You need a whip to be tensile and flexible. So I don't know how they're using hardening to make a crossbow string. Like,
okay, but Becca made a good point. Like, the Titans can conjure flesh and all kinds of other soft, squishy stuff. So it's not necessarily all hardened.
Well, this Titan specifically, the entire Titan is conjured. We find out later.
Yeah,
on.
but it's flesh covered by the armor, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying like this Titan is almost just like it's formed like on site. Like they do a little flesh and they throw armor on top of that, and if they need to form a little more armor over here and a little more flesh over here, this is the.
It almost seems like this whole Titan is just conjured. It's
a Play-Doh Titan.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just saying. I think Isama
it breaks all the laws of physics
should have
and
not
logic.
done that, and should have just made them throw a javelin. They could just conjure.
We'll get as much explanation as the heart can desire because he's very. That's been kind of the nature of the entire show. But why don't you say we take a little break maybe? Just listen. If you're really worn out by this whole Warhammer Titan thing, I understand. But there might be something that we could pitch to you that might pep you up a little bit.
This episode of Beyond the Basement Podcast is sponsored by freelunchcoffee.com. That's right. We're partnering with Free Lunch Coffee and brewing up something amazing. Because for every purchase of their fair trade organic coffee, you'll provide 10 meals to help the hungry children in the schools of South Africa. Now you can enjoy rich, high-quality coffee and help make a difference in someone's life. Free Lunch Coffee believes that we can change the world just by changing our coffee. Who knew being a hero could taste this delicious? And your next cup of coffee will taste even sweeter when you use our discount code BEYOND at checkout. That'll save you 10% off your total order. True salute to Free Lunch Coffee for sponsoring this episode. And you can help us roast the competition, save some money, and more importantly, help end child hunger by clicking the link in the description or visiting freelunchcoffee.com and using our discount code BEYOND at checkout. That's BYOND. Help us make a difference.
Huge shout out to Free Lunch Coffee, by the way. Thank you for sponsoring the episode. It means a lot to us. Really, really love what you guys are doing, and we love the product. So, okay.
Lara Tybur is her name.
Lara Tybur. So
or
we get
Lara.
back to Lara.
It's Lara, Lara.
Lara?
Oh.
We'll just
like
say,
Mana?
We'll just say Laura.
Manga?
Manga?
Sure, Laura is sufficient.
Lara
Laura will work. So we get her name in this little slide thing or whatever, and she's a little sister of Willy, as it were, and this is where it cuts back over to Magath. Eren Magath is all over this episode. Cuts back to him, and we see this literal train, and he says the chain of command has been broken. We need to call down our special teams that have been training in the mountains. We need to call in our fleet from the seas. We need to surround Liberio with 30,000 soldiers. So he's calling in everything.
Mm-hmm.
This is what makes me think maybe he's not a sympathizer.
Yeah. Right before that, though, there was this moment where he and all the dudes were up on the wall looking at the Titans fighting, and something came up behind them and blew them all up. We didn't really talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
That happens first.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't have that part down. Oh, it was right after after Mikasa did the thunder spears.
Yeah, right after she says, "Please come home." Then you see it cuts back over,
and it looks like Magath gets blown up.
It does. Yeah. It looks like he got blown up because
a bunch of scouts come up behind him with their thunder spears and blow the crap out of everybody. And we were like, "Yes!"
I thought he was dead right there. I was like, "Oh, they got General Magath."
Turns out he's not.
He ain't dead. Well, we know he's not dead because he's narrating this whole little sequence.
And he orders 30,000 soldiers to converge on Liberio, right? Surround Liberio and don't let the founding titan or one of the island devils escape, are his words.
Yeah.
And he looks around.
Makes me think he's not a sympathizer.
Yeah, that's when I started to doubt him too. I'm like, dang, maybe not.
There's still evidence for and against, but...
He looks around and he sees outside scouts zipping by. They're trying to take some pot shots in a building. And he says, yeah, you guys have fun while it lasts. There's no future here. With this massacre, the whole world will see Eldia as a threat, just like Willy Tybur planned.
Yeah.
And now no one's going to let you live. Like, you'll have no sympathizers. You are the aggressors in this, even though we've been oppressing you, and even though we've invaded you, and even though we've been planning on declaring war
now
against
that
you.
you fought back, everyone will hate you.
And now that you've defended yourself, even though it's pretty brutal, everyone's going to hate you because we're going to frame it like that.
Yeah, it's a well-executed plan because he's giving credit to Willy Tybur as he should. Like, again, to go back to our original point, like, Tybur is kind of a master manipulator at this point. Yeah. He's been a shadow ruler. He doesn't care about his people. He calls them devils. Like, he's as bad as everyone else. But again, Dark Erwin with the Black Soul, he comes up with this plan, and the plan is executed extremely well. He's right. I think Magath is right. He says the whole world is going to get involved now. Everybody saw this, which is true. Like, the events that are being unfolded here, everyone will know about. What I don't know that he's planning for, maybe he's just not thinking about it right at this moment, is that, well, yeah, the whole world's gonna, he says the whole world will get involved, so maybe he's not as off as I think he is. What I'm saying is that, well, the whole world may get involved, but not every one of them is going to be on Marley's side.
Yeah, but remember when Willy was saying, we haven't wasted our time. We've invested our time. We've made alliances with the whole world. So Willy's this beloved figure. Kin of our heir. And what's going to happen when you kill this beloved figure? Kin of our heir.
Eren just ate him in front of the world's most influential news reporters.
Two things could be true.
After he made them all weep.
It's true. Well, what I think is that because Magath even says, that they must have known that. He says it right here. He says they
must have known that.
Surely they must have known that they must have known, number one, that this is going to involve the rest of the world, and that they're planning for that, and that not only is it going to involve, if that's the case, this is where I think he's starting to put the pieces together that I'm saying, is that he now understands, they've probably involved other nations. Again, Madame Kiyomi, as we've mentioned before, looked to as if she was one of those friends of Willy Tybur's, right?
Yeah.
She was at the dinner party. He would have every reason to think, she's in with us, but
not everybody is.
But she may not be, or it seems like she probably isn't.
Keeps making exits very dramatically, I've noticed.
Yeah.
Even in the dinner party, she saves Udo and then makes a departure.
Right.
So here we see some epic scouts, and these are like a mix between anti-Titan, anti-personnel scouts.
Yeah.
Zipping around, they're shooting their guns, they're using their thunder spears. One of them lands, and these guys are like, these guys are crazy. He takes a shot, right? He's about to take a shot. He gets anchored in the back, and he gets pulled back. And guess who it is? It's good old Jean.
Jean. Oh, we forgot to mention, General Magath takes a bomb right there. Sorry, that's how that last scene ends. I didn't mention that.
He takes a second bomb.
He's now taken two high explosives directly.
It's that redheaded soldier throws a grenade into the room that he's in there making that call.
It must have been Flock.
They made a show of the redheaded soldier a couple times before this point, and I was like, I bet that's Flock, but I didn't say it out loud. Anyway, that's not the point.
Continue.
Yeah. So then Magath gets blown up a second time.
Yeah. And then Jean's like, hey! He starts yelling at Flock. Remember, we're supposed to be keeping the civilian casualties to a minimum. You're going to light the whole town on fire.
Yeah, they have those explosive barrels with them.
They just keep throwing. Yeah, they were about to throw a big barrel off the roof and just blow the crap out of everything.
Yeah. He's like, you morons are going to burn the whole zone down. Again, we now know this is a very well executed, very well coordinated plan for all of Paradise.
And the top-down message has been, be careful of the civilians in Liberio, take out only the military offenders, and protect Eren probably is their mission.
Yeah.
And here Flock doesn't seem to really agree with that.
Well, and he points to Eren. He's like, Eren's giving us a message. Look. And then that's when it cuts back over to Eren.
Oh, yeah.
He says, the only thing I see here are enemies and the places they live. And you're like, bro, you can't have just the same ideology as these terrible Marleyans, right?
Yeah.
We have to draw the line, end the cycle somewhere. We can't. Eren even says it, like, I used to think everybody across the sea was my enemy until I came over here and spent time under their roof and spent slept in the same bed, and I was among their people, and I realized that they're just the same as me.
Yeah, but he says that line. He says the only thing here is enemies. Remember the massacre that happened inside the walls. We were all being eaten alive. Like, Flock really goes off. Now he's a grudge holding kind of guy. We know from season 3. Like, that's just how he is. Like, I don't trust the dude personally. I was like, why would you let this dude run around with the guns and explosives? Like there's certain protocols in the American military. Like if you're gonna join, like you got to be like mentally stable. And like if they deem you unstable,
some of those
like
rules
they'll just
go out the window during war, though.
I'd have flock digging ditches, man. I wouldn't have him anywhere near.
Not on the front lines. I wouldn't put a weapon in his hands. I just don't really like trust the guy. He also has an axe to grind that's pretty clear.
He seems to be particularly obsessed with the devil.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's when he points to Eren. He's like, "Look, Eren is telling us to fight." He actually Tatake actually uses that same kind of like line, and like and
then doesn't Jean say, "You're still on that?" And then he goes, "He's the kind of devil we need," or something like that.
And so it kind of plays into this whole long-running theme of the show. I feel like this happens consistently, but this is exactly the moment. He's the kind of devil we need, and it just gets into the real muck and mire of like the ethics of war, okay? Which is one of the most like dicey places to be, because what Flock is saying is like there needs to be like vengeance. Like these people made us suffer for so long, like, and I'm here to execute vengeance. And to an extent, Flock is actually correct, right? There does need to be not just retribution, but like why is it when somebody's a hardened criminal and the killer, we put them on death row so they won't do it again, right? There's a certain kind of There's a form in which justice can be executed righteously, cleanly, and fairly. Warfare, however, real war, doesn't tend to be the case. Judgment is
super ugly.
Executed, exactly, but it happens in a really sloppy, really messy kind of way. And unfortunately, it leaves the door open for what we call war crimes to happen. They always do. And it's pretty obvious that this is one of them, right? When Hanji and Levi were torturing what's-his-face, like, I would agree, like, that's over the line. Like, Hanji probably went too far. Like, her plan worked, but the thing is that in that moment, and again, it's back to season 3, Hanji had to become, quote, the devil in order to, like, torture this guy and do something really horrible on behalf of freeing the people inside the walls. And so it's this very, like I said, extremely dicey, like, ethical question, which is, how far can you go with the ends justify the means? Okay,
Yeah.
because the truth of that statement is sometimes the ends do in fact sometimes the means. What am I trying to say? The ends justify. Yeah, sometimes the ends do in fact justify the means. There are certain times when, for instance, like the story, the first spy, American spies, this guy Nathan Hale. And he's an American spy. It's the American Revolution. General Washington himself commissions him. He's like, we need to find out when the British are going to invade Manhattan. We're pretty sure they're going to, but we need you to find out. And this guy, Nathan Hale, was like literally a Puritan, like Christian dude. Like dude wouldn't harm a fly. Like he was so like dedicated to his like faith or whatever, but he wouldn't lie for anything, right? And then he gets this mission and happily accepts it. His other soldiers wouldn't accept it, and they were kind of upset with him because spying was so dastardly. It was considered so low. You know, we don't think that now, but at the time, any nation was like, well spying.
Especially the rules of warfare back then was you wear your nice suits and your wigs, and you come and you line up in your pretty uniforms, and you stand and you're gentlemanly, and you shoot your friend, and you reload, and then the war's over. Like, it wasn't really like down and dirty the way it was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it obviously war changed after the Revolutionary War. It changed a lot. But my point is to say that Nathan Hale accepts his mission on the grounds that what he's about to do, the ends of defending American freedom of this new American nation from a tyrannical British government, justifies his means. It justifies the fact that he has to go in and pretend to be somebody he's not. And he has to go and lie to people. And his conscience, because we have a lot of letters. There's a lot of written about him. He felt not just kind of justified, he felt extremely justified. So he goes in to do the spy work, he does collect some information, he goes to come back, the attack actually happens before he gets back. Not only that, but he gets sloppy and he gets caught. Not only does he get caught, but he gets executed. But before he's executed, there's lots of record of this guy, and he actually said, like, he goes up before these generals and before everybody after he's been caught, and he says, don't regret a thing. I did this in the name of freedom. So he becomes this like.
Is he the one who says, "My only regret is I have one life to give"?
Yes, that is Nathan Hale. And so they have a statue of the guy at the CIA, and they have several statues of him in various like American agencies, but specifically at the CIA, America's spies, right, have a statue of this guy to say that no, there are because he was the guy who said no. Sometimes the ends do justify the means. Clearly, that's not always the case. Clearly, there are times when, okay, you're now stooping to the same level as your enemies, and you shouldn't be doing that. You're better than them. You don't just kill civilians. Yeah,
going around and using the Titans to destroy the world.
Yeah. You don't kill civilians, right? We're not going to stoop to their level, is what Jean is saying. We don't do that. We don't stoop down to their level. This is the point I'm trying to make. Jean says, we don't stoop to their level and just kill innocent people just because.
Yeah.
And Flock says, no, I'm not killing them just because. Like, the death that's going on here is justified. Maybe, maybe not. However, and he ends with, look at Eren. He's the kind of devil we need. There are times when you need a Nathan Hale to go in and do the dirty work on behalf of a more righteous cause. I'm not going to take sides anywhere on this one because, again, it's as dicey as it gets. There is no concrete way to dissect like the ethics of war or even what's going on in this episode. And so when people say in our comment section, well, this isn't really a story of good guys and bad guys, I disagree. It is a story of good guys and bad guys, but it's a realistic story of good guys and bad guys because when it comes to war, sometimes the good guys do bad things, and it's really hard to figure out exactly where that line was. Yep. And you can disagree and you can fight me on that all day long, but when the day comes when you are the one and you've got a gun in your hands and your family's in danger and you got to do something grisly and ugly, you might do it, or you might not.
So we've seen Hange, torture somebody, and we've seen Willy Tybur have a nice family.
Right. Good people do bad things, bad people do good things.
And some people will look at it and they'll just say, oh yeah, it's all just gray. You just have to do whatever you have to do. And I would say no, right? Like, no, it's not. We can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, oh, just because in war you have to do certain things means we can do whatever we want. We can have full justification to live however we want. I would say absolutely not. There is standards, there is good and there is bad. Doesn't mean that everything is always perfect. And it's definitely not, especially in war. And Isayama's kind of great theme is like war is hell. There's all sorts of ups and downs and very, very shady things that happen, and we should avoid it at all costs. But also, if you go into war and you're fighting against a enemy and you do all the wicked things to become the same as your enemy, what have you done in the end?
Yeah. It's you have to think like, this is a really weird example, but imagine if the Union in the American Civil War, the war against slavery, right? They're fighting in order to end slavery in America, and we go into war with each other. But imagine if the Union had gone down and then just enslaved everyone in the South.
Right.
Win the war.
And some would say, hey, they earned it. They've enslaved these people wickedly.
It's just payback, right?
And we would say, yeah, you freaking jerks, you're terrible and you're racist. But guess what? Two wrongs don't make a right.
Right.
You cannot just continue the cycle. At some point, you have to be the cycle breaker. And we kind of saw that last episode with Eren and Reiner, and I hope we see more of that. But Eren did not do a good thing here. And here we're going to get right into it.
So immediately cuts over to the devil himself. It cuts over to Eren, and Mikasa says, Eren, like, look what you've done.
Look what you've done.
You've killed civilians, even children. You've done things that cannot be undone. And she's got tears in her eyes. And, Warhammer starts to come back up. Like, oh, it's not over yet. But this plays directly into what we're saying, which is like, Eren is a bit of a devil here. Like, is he a good guy, but he did something just bad? I hope that Eren's not turning into the bad guy, but I've been predicting for ages. I'm
starting to freak out a little bit and think that that's what's happening because he's so emotionless. Even when she says that, he's just like, eh.
Yeah,
I
fear for him.
Which again reminds me of Zeke.
No, it reminds me of the founding Titan.
I think it was. I don't know if he feels nothing here. Maybe he does feel nothing, but to me, what it appeared is he's here, and Mikasa's like, "You just killed a bunch of kids and a bunch of women, and you need like, what have you done?" And he kind of looks at her, and I think he doesn't want to face it, and so he sees the founding the Warhammer Titan, and he says, "Our work's not done here. Like, I can't stop to dwell on this. I can't face the music yet. After the whole fight is done, that's when we can sort out what was right and what was wrong."
Yeah.
And I'm like, Eren, bro.
He did just say right before he did all of that, I am the bad guy. And then he blows up the building and kills a bunch of kids and women. And
Does Eren become the great baddie?
Exactly. That's the question. And so again, people, if you can't just tell me, like, oh, it's not a show about who the good guy versus the bad guy. It is. But it's a realistic one. It's a show that shows you sometimes the good guys do bad things, and sometimes good guys turn into bad guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes
you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
So,
Manny DePal says Eren reminds me of the owl.
Yes, I agree. Where he's doing some dark stuff.
He's doing dark stuff, and he's really calm and emotionless, and just kind of like.
Agreed.
Warhammer gets up.
Yeah, Warhammer gets up. And, oh, it's impossible. I blew the nape, and he's like, "Yeah, I crushed it with all my strength." And then the Warhammer gets up, regenerates fully, and then starts firing your favorite weapon, the crossbow.
A crossbow. Okay, pal. Just throw something. Just chuck a javelin. That would make way more sense. But all right, we'll see it happen.
So Eren's like, okay,
Mikasa whisks him away.
Yeah.
But during our reaction, we were like, okay, so the the Warhammer Titan's pretty much invincible.
That's what I
then?
said. I was like, that doesn't
Its
seem
whole
right.
body's made out of hardened material, and it can just regenerate itself at will.
But we were saying, even so, even if this is all hardened, you should have been able to get to the person in the nape.
The other
Right.
thing I noticed is Warhammer Titan didn't have any steam coming off of it when it got injured.
Yeah.
That's
I
a
didn't
good
notice
point.
that either.
I was like, what the fuck? Why?
Oh, it's electric. It's not steam powered.
So the hardening makes sure that this Titan isn't going to die. Eren says, "Here, get its attention. If this plan works, I'm going to eat it." We cut back over to this hospital, and this doctor is standing in front of Colt and Gabbi, saying, "Listen, we're already at capacity, and this kid is dead already." They have Udo in their hands, and so they're like,
He does look like he's about to die any second when
You got trampled.
and they lay him down in the field, and
and then he dies.
he's dead, and that one sucks. And then truthfully to you, Udo, we liked you. And then this is where Colt says, there's just nowhere safe. Like we have to get somewhere safe. He's talking to Gabbi. He's trying to protect her, and he says, or Gabbi says, I don't know why Udo and Sophia had to die. And
Who does that remind you of?
yeah, lots of people inside the walls
One
actually.
Eren Yeager.
But he says, "There's nowhere safe." And Falco, where are you? Right. So the question, which I'm asking that question too. Hopefully, we find out soon. So Gabbi goes to flee, and she gets stopped by these guards, and they're like, "No, you're headed into a war zone." And she says, "No, let me fight." Which you have to think that she's literally been in war before.
Yeah.
You probably should let her fight.
However, she also doesn't have a Titan power. She's not nearly as capable as some of these other people in terms of like military ability, and she's way
not
more
in a foxhole
valuable.
with a bunch of soldiers.
She's
either.
way more valuable. I would be telling the same thing first. Like, you're a girl. Yes, you've been trained in the military or whatever, but you don't have a weapon with you. You're not as big and as strong as
You have
anybody
a Titan
else.
power, and you're not an Ackerman.
And you're valuable. We need to keep you alive because you've been specially trained. You are very valuable to us. Get out. We're the peons. We're gonna die. And obviously, these are the people at the gate. Remember, they were having conversations with them. They were like, "Oh wow, Falco beat her for the first time, and Gabbi, you don't understand," and all these things. Like, they have a relationship.
Yeah.
Are these the same
These
guards
are the
from that?
same guards that were like, "Oh, she's so clueless," and I can't believe he
So she kind of
actually
knows
said
them.
it.
They kind of know her.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, Gabbi, what are you doing?"
They
Yeah.
probably think she's the spawn of the devil still, but whatever.
Yeah. I think they care about her, and it's kind of sad that they have this relationship. They're trying to protect her, and right as they're doing that, homeboys get
Sniped.
marked
So an
out.
explosion
sniped.
happens.
Good old Deadeye Sasha over here, man. She pulls out. She's upgraded. She used to have a bow and arrow.
Yeah, from the bow and arrow to
Now
sniper
she's
rifle.
got like a freaking K98 over
yeah,
here.
dude, standing up from a building. You see
Shooting
that
them
distance?
in the skull.
Yeah,
Headshots.
She
both
drops
of them.
both of them. But she doesn't drop Gabbi, right? Which proves. Now here's the thing: is
No, but she eyes her for a minute, and she looks at the armband, and then Connie distracts her.
well, no,
I don't think she was gonna shoot her,
She wasn't
but-
going to shoot her. She lowered her rifle because they just said minimize civilian casualties.
Yeah.
So here's Sasha doing what Eren should have been doing, what these other guys did. Some of Flock didn't do. She's actually
Showing restraint.
prioritizing military targets, and she's a precision shooter here. She has a much better opportunity, to be fair. But she does that, and so I'm making a prediction. This is the moment. They make it look as though this is the moment where Gabbi loses it, and she's going to make a vow in her heart to destroy all the people from Paradise and so on and so forth. I think that ultimately she goes back to she has a memory, and she comes back to this moment, and she goes, "Wait, Sasha, who's one of these devils, chose not to end me,
Okay.
and because I was a child, because some of them do the right thing." That's what I think.
But she keeps reminding us of Eren constantly, right? Her village is invaded. All the people she loves is dying. She's asking the question, why do they have to die? She looks up, she sees these invaders, and she just gets so angry. The people she loved has been killed, and it seems like, she's making a vow in her heart. So we'll see how she comes around. But Connie comes up to Sasha. Connie's looking a little taller. Appreciate that. Looking like more of a
like
man.
my haircut.
And he says, "Hey, did you forget about the lights?" They're like, "Oh yeah, the lights."
They put lights on top of these rooftop spires.
What could that be for?
I'm
Can we-
predicting
any
there's
guess?
going to be an airship. I think the Eldians are going to bring in
Have
an
made
airship.
one?
Some kind of signal, yeah. This is
Certainly
what it
they
is.
I
have
think
flights.
they want the lights so the airship can see where the tops of the buildings are, so it doesn't like rip itself open. And I think they're going to drop bombs.
So have the Eldians captured an airship as well?
I don't know if they captured one or if they just built one.
Remember,
or...
Armin's parents were making an air balloon before.
And you
any
got
of this.
Hanjae-san making thunder spears. I mean, it doesn't seem like too much of a leap for her to make bombs. in my opinion.
Sure.
To drop from
an actual
a
aerial
bomber.
assault.
So we go over to Jean, and he doesn't say anything specifically important.
Gabby grabs the gun. That's why I was saying that. This is right. It cuts really quick, just real short. We see her grab a rifle.
Teeth and grabs a rifle.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So John sits here and he's kind of telling him like, "Hey, we have to survive this. We have to find out." And none of it seemed like specifically important, but the thing that was important to me about the situation is the fact that Jean is showing leadership skills pretty well.
I think he's kind of in charge. I think he's one of the main guns here.
Yeah.
He's rallying everybody. He's telling people, "Hey, don't do this. You come back to do this."
Yeah.
So I like it. I'm happy he's invested his 4 years of skill points into leadership.
Great skill to upgrade.
He kind of reminded me of Levi a little bit when he comes in and immediately starts being sassy with Falco. Like, what are you doing, you idiots?
Yeah, for Flock. Yeah.
Yeah. Or Falco. I meant Flock.
So then we cut back to Eren, and Eren is with Mikasa, and they're both kind of like, dang.
Yeah. Mikasa's flying around, zipping around the Warhammer Titan, who now has a sword.
Yeah. That's what I would always have.
For
we could
sure.
just conjure anything.
Yeah.
First thing I would conjure is a good pastrami sandwich, and the second thing, a sword. Yeah, I definitely have a sword.
Definitely a sword. Now, this is a page taken directly out of Skyrim, is it not? To conjure, that's one of the spells. You can conjure all the weapons.
Oh, it was bound bow he was using.
Bow, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
See, that's why it worked. Yeah.
So Eren
he
says...
He is the Dragonborn.
Eren says, it doesn't seem right. She formed up from the feet.
Okay, wait. I think you're getting ahead of it.
Yeah. It doesn't seem right. You use the Thunder Spears, Mikasa. I use all my power on the nape, right? Something felt off.
Yeah.
And then he realized she formed from the feet underneath the stage. And we see kind of this little like tendril things that are like kind of going
There's
around.
There's like a tentacle attached to her heel.
It's a Titan umbilical cord. Let's be real.
It's pretty awkward. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
super weird.
Eren transforms again.
What?
And goes in. So this means Eren's not only can like open his flesh, can stick out, can talk, can pop out, but he can transform again within a span of 10 minutes.
Well,
20
remember,
minutes?
They did say in season 3, I think, that Hanji said that she knows somehow. I can't remember how she knows, but that Eren can transform up to 3 times before he has to take a break.
Yeah, now, which is crazy.
But now he's been training for 4 years, so...
Who knows?
I don't know. He's definitely strong and has gotten the hardening thing down. He knows all the tricks now.
So Mikasa begins to distract. Eren dives straight in and transforms again. Comes up out of the ground, and he is holding what looks like a giant crystal egg with this kind of, weird umbilical cord attached. You know where it's attached? Attached to the heel? Kind of the Achilles Achilles flashback there.
Is there anyone else?
And he rips out the
all
cord,
this like blood and stuff.
And blood comes out of it.
It's
I
gross.
did not expect that. I was like, and he's like, I'm like, no.
That's why this show's not for kids. If not for nothing else than those kind of moments.
Yeah, when I rip out a crystal egg, man, I want it to be, beautiful. I don't want to be all gross and squishy like that.
Yeah. So he takes out. Oh, this is also where we see General Magath.
He goes, oh no. The hammer's about to be eaten.
Yeah, the hammer's about to be eaten. But the fact of the matter is, the man has just
He's
survived
still alive.
2 direct explosions. How?
He does have blood coming out of his
wound,
head and ear, but he's alive.
He's alive,
and he's not concussed.
So Eren grabs a crystal with Lara in it. He rips that stupid cord and he raises it to eat it.
Like a giant crystal pill.
Yeah. Wouldn't you know it? The jaw shows up and comes and
like
goes
the
for
creepy
goes for
spider
Eren.
monkey from our nightmares.
Right before you saw this, were you guys convinced that he had it in the bag, or were you like, "There's no way"?
No, never.
I was like, either the Beast Titan or some other person is going to show up any second.
Maybe
because through this whole episode, I kept going, "Where is Zeke? Where?" Because I'm just waiting for him to show up and ruin everything. Because that's what he does.
That's what he does.
Yeah, it is what he does. That's what he says every time.
That's his MO. He's like, okay, they might actually win. No, they're all going to be slaughtered by the Beast Titan.
I am curious. I am so curious. Like, I understand for the sake of the show, you had to let some of the other Titans get out and get into this fight. It couldn't just be like a stomp. But, like, I don't know. Like, letting John Cart sit down there with no one, like, you didn't have a single scout to spare to like guard them or to even or like
drop
I understand
an explosive in there.
No, they don't want to kill them. They want to take their powers. They want to trap them.
So
I
then
understand
close that trapdoor so no one would know.
I know. I was wondering that too. I'm like that. who I think is Armin, just drops down the hole and then leaves them
He's like,
unattended.
nothing will ever happen to those guys.
That's what I'm saying. Is Armin's not smart enough
Is
to
he
be like
expecting them to escape eventually?
And so I have to wonder if that's what happened, because we see in the preview that Zeke does show up in the Beast Titan in the next episode, and so we all thought, oh well, they're sending Zeke off somewhere
To the gate.
Yeah, where the gate where we would assume Levi would be there, but we now know that's not where he was. He was actually in this fight.
Well,
so
we don't know what happened.
He was
There's been
somewhere up
several
until
minutes.
this very choice moment where
so
we
maybe
knew him.
fair enough.
Maybe Zeke is really jacked up, or maybe they were just like, "Hey, look over there! Quick attack, everybody, fight!" And Zeke's like, "I don't see anything up there.
Yeah,
Look.
right,
Oh man, you're killing my friends! Dang it!"
So at this point, so the Jaw Titan shows up. He jumps onto Eren, goes to bite him, and he's like, "Oh, I've been waiting for this moment. I'm going to retake the founding Titan." And yet can't speak too soon.
He gets his teeth on him, and then
Levi shows up.
And he says,
he's like,
One
"Why
quick
can't
slash.
I bite down?"
"He says, is this an Ackerman?"
No, he says, "Is this Ackerman?"
He says, I wrote it down specifically. He says, "Is that him? Is that Ackerman? Is that Ackerman?" Meaning, like, is that not
that
an
Levi
Ackerman? Is
Ackerman?
that Ackerman?
But there's more than one.
Right, but
don't
Zeke
think he
only
knows that.
really knows about the one that
Okay.
almost killed him. That's the only Ackerman that he's been told about that he's worried about.
I agree.
By
Well,
Reiner.
at any rate, Levi takes care of him pretty handily. And so he goes down. So he goes to leap away. He jumps up this building. Eren goes to grabs him by the hair, actually, and he like gets away from Eren's hand, like goes to jump up onto this building, and then Mikasa flies in with the Thunder Spirit, and, like, knocks him down. And so he's getting hit like this. I'm sorry, but I've not liked Galliard this whole time. Like, he's so
kind of a
full of himself.
D-bag.
He's a total douche. Everything that's happening, I was like, good for you. Yep, keep going. Just give it to him. Just give it
kill
to him.
We
And
don't.
so-
It's fine.
Pride comes before a fall. He's all, "Ooh, I got this in the." Oh, no, you don't, dude. No, you freaking don't. You don't know who you're messing with. He goes down, and then this is the best ending possible. All the freaking scouts, a whole horde of them in their freaking
They start
ODM
swarming
gear,
down on
start
him.
swarming
Silhouetted
him.
by the moonlight,
Yeah.
coming in like dark ninjas.
He goes, "Can't you see I'm a Titan?" Like, he's like in shock. He's like, "Can't you see I'm a Titan? These guys are just humans, and they're coming to kill me. These guys are the devils of paradise."
So good.
And that's where it ends.
So good. That's what we're here for, bro. And the next episode is it's called, what's it called? Assault?
Assault,
Yeah.
which
It
I-
should have been called
Devils
The
of
Devils of
Paradise.
Paradise.
We're
baby.
okay. Speaking of merch, we are going to make a shirt that says "The Devils of Paradise." Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna wear it proudly, and so should everyone else.
Pretty-
Find us on Teespring.
Pretty
Check the links
boss.
below.
So where does this episode rate for you guys in terms of this season and also in terms of overall Attack on Titan?
top 3, dude.
It's really good. A lot of great
One of the
moments. The
best.
Justice Punch on the founder,
Just
or on the Warhammer.
all the
Mikasa
Titan.
come out of nowhere. Levi come out of nowhere.
Everyone pops off in this episode.
Yeah, it's like all the great comebacks show
Yeah.
up. So I'm guessing we're about to have our hearts broken pretty badly next episode because Isayama is not.
That's kind of how it goes. We have a really satisfying episode followed by a not so satisfying.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yes.
I really hope that I'm wrong.
No.
It would seem that this assault
The Beast Titan's going to be involved.
has
Something's
been
gonna suck.
well planned. So
Yeah.
it would shock me if they just happened to overlook the Beast Titan and,
Yeah.
the Cart Titan showing up.
Yeah.
With all her gear and her squad on her back. And
I'm
yeah.
sure they have a plan because that's Armin and that is Hanja's MO is to have a plan. So if they don't,
They have a backup plan to
Well,
a backup plan.
Here's the thing: is I know he's definitely the E brake, like the emergency button, but Armin has the Colossal Titan, and he's got to be here.
and he hasn't played that card yet.
He hasn't played that card, but if he needs to, he will. So that's why I don't think that this is
He's
why
going to show up at some point, and
Okay.
they're going to be losing their minds because I don't think they think.
this episode to me. Okay, I'm taking the jacket off because it's time for predictions. Since
All
we don't have a spoiler
right.
section. Woo! Okay,
Although we make
throughout. I'm gonna make a specific one. Next episode, Beast Titan shows up, does his thing. Cart Titan shows up. I don't think they're gonna have a problem with the Cart Titan. It's a utility Titan. I don't know. What I'm saying is that the Beast Titan has always been a threat from a distance. He's a long-range machine. He never is one of the reasons I can know for sure he wasn't good up close is the fact that Levi gets on top of him, and that's all Levi
just
needed.
shreds
But it's
him.
Levi though.
But you see what I'm saying
He
is that
did beat the
Levi.
Armored Titan in 1-on-1, and we don't know if they actually wrestled or if he threw something. But It seemed like Reiner would be able to close the distance on him pretty well, right?
You'd think, but my point is, I don't think he's effective close up.
As effective as he is just bombarding.
Those long, lanky arms are great for throwing. They're not great for throwing punches. They're just great for throwing, stuff. Like he's got the baseball pitcher thing.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, I think that plays into it. And here's my prediction: is that this is a really well set up plan. Yeah, there's gonna be counterattacks. I think we're gonna have some action here, but Again, sneaking suspicion this entire time. Now that they're saying it outright, this episode, that there's going to be the rest of the world gets involved. The rest of the world does get involved. I seriously could see this Marley kind of portion of the story playing out relatively quickly. That it actually that Marley basically is taken out of the picture even. This storyline isn't the end. I think it goes on and goes way deeper into the powers of the Titans themselves. Again, Eren may indeed become the devil. He may become. I think he gains more powers.
Will come and trample the whole world, like everybody's been saying.
Yeah, I just think that's kind of bound. That's where it's going to go, and that we're seeing because it's episode 6, and we're seeing a huge climax already. We're seeing like a big, like fight and all this stuff breaking out. So unless we spend a lot more time doing backstories and stuff, which I'm sure we will, but even with that, I just don't see how even in this first half of the season, how we don't wrap this up somehow. You know what I mean? This fight is happening. It does
seem like it's not. I don't see an easy retreat out of this one.
Mm-mm. And they know that. I don't think they're looking to retreat. They're going in here to finish this, and
so
I think that they will.
They take the Beast Titan and the Warhammer and the cart and the jaw all out right now?
No, I don't think it's that simple, but I don't think that, I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that it, I would assume that at least one of the powers goes to paradise.
Okay.
In the near future.
I wish it was somebody else so we could have an even fight, not just one person getting all the ability, but...
You think Eren's going to... No, I don't know. I don't know if it'll be Eren or not. All I'm saying is that my prediction for a long time has been Eren, the founding Titan, has Ymir inside of him, and he starts to go nuts, and he, once he gains other Titan powers, he wants all the Titan powers, and he kind of, goes rogue, and eventually they realize they have to, feed him. They actually have to sacrifice, even Armin, have to sacrifice it. I think it's the ultimate. Armin realizes he has to sacrifice himself and let Eren, eat him and become this devil, and they have to come up with a way to, do away with Ymir, with the power of the Titans altogether.
Yeah, I can definitely see that arc coming together. That would make sense. Really could go anywhere. Do you have any predictions you want to kick in there?
I'm going to cry.
Yeah, I really don't. I really hope that's not the tragedy. I hope it ends in some kind of uplifting freedom. But it seems to me, here's the thing about war. With weapons are dangerous. Mm-hmm. If you have a weapon and I don't have a weapon, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
If nobody has a weapon, I'm okay. Or if everybody has a weapon, I'm okay.
But the thing is everybody has fists, so everybody has a weapon.
Well, here's what I'm saying. There's some people with Titan powers, and there's other people with no Titan powers, right? What has stopped nuclear warfare from happening?
Yeah, I was actually kind of thinking along this line. I'm like, wait a second. With nuclear weapons, once the Americans figured it out, a bunch of other countries also figured out how to unlock the power of the atom. So
thanks, Rosenberg.
Oh,
so
if
the Eldians figured out how to harness the powers of the Titan, and it's not some mystic thing, it's actually science, then why haven't other nations figured out how to do it too? Why don't they have their own special Titan powers?
That's a good point. That does go strike against my theory that the whole thing is science and not magic.
But. Yeah. But, okay, so say there's other things.
Because we know there's Eldians in other lands.
Also, for the record, there's other countries that figured out how to make nuclear bombs, didn't figure out how to make nuclear bombs. We did, and freaking spies, communist sympathizers in America stole the technology and fed it to the Soviets. So.
Okay, well, but that's still
anyway.
They're trash.
The same point, though.
So, anyways, your point stands.
But back to your point.
And in your point, my point is, what stopped nuclear warfare? It's MAD. Mutually assured destruction. Yeah. If you shoot your missiles, we're going to shoot our missiles. And so nobody wants to shoot missiles because guess what? Everyone doesn't want to die.
We all die. Yeah.
So here's the deal. If I have nuclear weapons and you have nothing to retaliate against me, then I can shoot as many as I want with impunity because what are you going to do about it? But as soon as you get nuclear weapons, oh crap, I better be really careful.
You've been playing Resonations?
Yeah, I have been playing Resonations. So here's the deal. If nobody has the weapons, we're all safe. Because we're all using our fists or whatever, right? Yeah. If everybody has the weapons, we're safe to a degree. But if only one person has the weapons, then we're in danger, right?
Yeah.
It's like the One Ring, right? It's a gift. We must use it, right?
No,
or
throw it into
destroy it,
Mordor.
right? So I'm guessing the only way for peace is either A, they divide up the 9 Titan powers amongst all the continents and all the peoples, or they
get rid of
them all. Because here's the deal. I can only defend myself if I have a similar power, right? If I have actual power. If I don't have that power, I'm vulnerable to whatever your will is. Hopefully, you are good and benevolent and you don't want to invade. But guess what? Marley hasn't and Eldio hasn't. And so far, the 2 people who have power got corrupted. Let me tell you something about power, guys. Power corrupts, okay? Unless you are incredibly principled, so principled that as soon as you have power and don't have power, it doesn't matter. It's a very, very dangerous thing. So that is my prediction. I think we'll probably see an end of the Titans. That's the only way for true peace to come. That would be the happiest ending and everybody being set free. But it also could be a tragedy because the people who have the Titan powers have to die. And that's a lot of people who we care about.
Yeah.
Either way.
I also think that it would be really cool if Hanjay figures out how to make Titans, because they still don't fully know.
Dumb Titans?
Oh, I would assume they have.
I mean,
I would
we
assume
know
they
it's
have the
spinal
serum.
fluid, but
I would assume she's got it by now.
I was just wondering, why is Eren gonna eat all?
I'm willing to bet
why
you that
aren't they just gonna steal the Titan, take it away, and give it the power to someone else?
I'm willing to bet that every squad leader, every scout even has got a little syringe on them. Think about it this way.
Oh.
Think if they develop the Titan serum and whatnot, it would be the perfect suicide pill. Let's say you're about to die anyway. You're about to die in battle just as a human. It's like stab yourself. You might eat some
turn
of your,
yourself into a Titan bomb.
Into a Titan. Yeah, exactly. You turn yourself into a Titan bomb. And you know what I'm saying? Like if it's a horrific situation, especially if you can all agree to do it at once, like, okay, that way we won't eat each other, like your fellow soldiers, but you just all right, we're all going to do it, guys. Like freaking suicide pill. Take the Titan serum, and then now they turn into the pure Titans, and hopefully Eren can control us or something. But I would assume that everybody's if they've developed the serum, that a lot of people have got to have that on them because they specifically took Piek and Galliard and captured them so they could take their powers.
And
I think
so
too. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do anything yet though. So,
but why didn't they guard them?
Gosh,
Dang
they
it!
Should have. If you're watching this and you're enjoying this content, please leave us a like on YouTube if you're there. If you're not on YouTube, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Drop us a comment if you're enjoying the action. If you're listening to this via podcast, if you want to go give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts,
that'd be the most helpful. Yeah, if you want to support the show, the 5-star review is really helpful. And then, of course, our merch. We have actual good-looking, sweet, Beyond the Basement merch, the mugs and the shirts, so you can support us that way. Also, there's another link in the description, which is just a general Attack on Titan merchandise, not necessarily ours, but we do get a little kickback if you buy through that as well. So
yeah, and if you're interested in keeping track with the squad, please like our page on Facebook and hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we go live. So you will get all the up-to-the-minute ownage we can provide you. Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate.
We love you,
and we will catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching and listening to our show, Beyond the Basement Podcast. If y'all are enjoying it, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or wherever else you listen to our show. Check out the description below for links to our awesome Attack on Titan merchandise. And join us live on Sunday nights on Facebook for all of Season 4. And some of our best content is on YouTube, including me, so go ahead and check that out. And lastly, if you guys have any questions or just want to chat with us, please email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys in the next video.